On Monday night, Phoenix's Sky Harbor Airport, one of the nation's busiest, was one of 12 FAA facilities that saw staffing shortages. And while it didn't lead to any significant delays here, the longer the shutdown rolls on, the likelier we are to see it have an effect on flight operations.
Is that a word? Likely? I don't know.
Likelier?
We are just making stuff up.
No, I think it's a word.
Okay. Joining us to talk about what is to come is ABC News transportation reporter Clara McMichael. Clara, there were delays caused by air traffic controller staffing in other places. Is the concern that this is just going to become a bigger and bigger problem?
Good morning. So that is the concern. We're now over a week into the shutdown, and we are starting to see those flight impacts because the controllers are calling out sick. So as we know, that staffing has been a big issue with air traffic controllers for years, and the margins are so thin. So the workforce is over 10,000 right now working during the shutdown, but when you have even just a few calling out, it can have major impacts. So we saw this start earlier this week on Monday when Burbank Airport had no air traffic controllers and flights were delayed there. And then yesterday, we saw thousands more delays across the country, staffing issues at multiple facilities, and experts say that the longer the shutdown goes, the worse these issues could become.
You know, our morning reporter, Colton Krolak, talked to an air traffic controller here, and that ATC seems to think that the call-outs are going to grow over time and that this is at least partly driven by a couple of factors. Number one, taking sick time during a shutdown doesn't come out of your share of official sick days, and it's also driven a little bit by jealousy because there are federal employees who don't have to show up to work and they're going to get paid at the end of the day. Have you been hearing that as well?
I think that's really interesting. And we know that these controllers work extremely stressful jobs, even when they are getting paid, right? It's 6 days a week, 10 hours a day in some cases, not to mention they're in charge of keeping planes safe. So you add in that they're not getting paid, and that's when it gets to a breaking point. They have to think about how to pay for childcare, food, medical expenses, student loans. Last shutdown, you even saw some controllers start driving for Uber to make ends meet. So again, this is only a fraction of the workforce that are calling out sick, but it's definitely exacerbating the staffing issue, and that's what we're beginning to see unfold across the country.
Is there a chance, Clara, that we could see also issues with TSA because they have to show up as well, and you know part of going to the airport, as we all know, is trying to get through the TSA, and if they start calling out sick, we got problems.
Right. So TSA, those are essential workers as well. We are not seeing those long TSA lines and TSA workers calling out sick yet. We did see it in the last shutdown with both the TSA agents and the controllers. Now, last time it happened over 30 days in. This time we're seeing it happen a lot sooner. So we'll see if that has an effect on those politicians and puts pressure on them. But the best advice, if you're worried about those TSA lines, get to the airport early.
Yeah, especially if you're going to end up with a delay in your flight, right? My sister-in-law just flew in from Boston a couple of days ago, and she said it was actually Monday afternoon, and she had what was supposed to be a 5 p.m. flight, so she got to the airport at 3, and it turned out to be a 7:30 flight. Right, so it's like you get there early, and I don't know. The other interesting thing, and by the way, we're talking with ABC News transportation reporter Clara McMichael about airport operations in general, but specifically about the air traffic controllers. One of the things I think is interesting is the difference in pay. I'd imagine is quite significant for a TSA employee and somebody who's an air traffic controller. I'd imagine the TSA employees make less, and that would be even more motivation for them to have to go take some sick days so they can drive for Uber or whatever, right?
Right. TSA workers often do make less than air traffic controllers, but both groups in many cases are living paycheck to paycheck. And some of those controllers aren't making that six-figure salary that you sometimes hear about with controllers, if they're new to the job, if they're starting, if they're in training. So no doubt for all government workers right now, it's a big issue of how to find money to pay for your expenses, in some cases while still doing your regular job.
Right. All right. ABC News transportation reporter Clara McMichael with us here on Arizona's Morning News. We appreciate the time.
I don't know if it's going to be angry travelers making phone calls to their members of Congress that might actually end the shutdown, but maybe there might be some, I don't know, there might be some thought behind people calling in sick when it comes to airport operations.
Sure.
To maybe move that along a little bit. I don't know.
You take a look at any job. It can be repetitive and dull and boring, and taking a little time off during a shutdown.
Right.
I don't feel so bad about that. You're saying to yourself, and I just don't blame them.
I can't.
You're not getting a paycheck right now.
I could see how it could be repetitive being an air traffic controller. I don't know as though I would consider that dull, though, because you've got all those lives, on your screen there.
I know, but
that I would think would be also motivation to take some time off, because it's like a couple days off from this stressful job. Are you kidding me?
I didn't realize they work 6 days a week.
That's crazy.
That's nonsense.
That is crazy.
5 days. Well, let's go to the 4-day work week. I'm down with that one.
All right.
Thanks for watching Arizona's Morning News. Click to watch more from KTAR News and hit the button in the middle to subscribe.